I'm Cynthia.
And I'm Erin.
And we're going to show you how to cook your Chinese herbal formula in loose herb form. So if you just came from the dispensary and have a bag of loose herbs, before we get going, we should probably talk about some of the tools that you might need in your kitchen to make your formula. So one of the most important things is getting the right pots or pans. So trying to stick with a non-metallic base, so either something like a Pyrex or a Corningware, a glass, or stainless steel is also very helpful. Also, if you happen to have a strainer, you're going to need this for straining out the loose herbs from the tea or decoction that you're going to make the drinking. And lastly, having some kind of a glass jar container to be able to store your loose herbs in so that you'll be able to take them at your convenience. So looking at the loose herbs that you came from the dispensary with, you may have certain bags with different markings. One of these might be marked boil for 40 minutes ahead of time. That one you're going to want to separate out, as well as ones that can be marked add during the last 5 minutes of cooking, or melt powder into strain decoctions. If you see any of these, I'm going to take your time reading them and make sure that you're putting them in at the right time. So, first off, open your bag of loose herbs and put them into one of your containers. Yeah, use stainless steel, sure. And most important first step is to pre-soak. So you can use tap water if your tap water is good, or filtered water if it's not. And you just want to be able to soak it, here I'll hold this, up to about a ½ inch where all the herbs are covered with water. Yeah, a little bit more. And you can go ahead and bring this over to the stovetop. This step's important because, for one, it's going to cut down on your total cooking time, and two, it gives a chance for different biochemical constituents of the herbs to be extracted and for you to get the most out of your herbs. So we're going to go ahead and wait 20 minutes and let these soak.
If you have one of these boil for 40 minutes packets, you can go ahead and start cooking that now while the rest of your formula is soaking.
Okay, so after the 20 minutes of pre-soak, we went ahead and started boiling the herbs. You want to let them get to a good, they call this the military fire, high boil, for 5 minutes. And now that we've gotten to a good boil, I'm going to go ahead and turn this down to medium-low and cover it up. And this is going to go ahead and simmer for the next 25 minutes to bring it to a total of 30 minutes cooking time. Also, if there are ingredients that you pre-decocted, this would be a very good time to add them back in, if they've had enough time to cook. So we're going to let this sit medium-low temperature for the next 25 minutes, and then we'll be ready to strain.
Here we are at the 20-minute mark. It's time to add our add during the last 5 minutes of decoction to our low boiling. There we go. We'll let it simmer for another 5 minutes.
Okay, so now we're done with our first boil, so it's time to strain the first round of decoction. Go ahead and be very careful. I'm going to set up your strainer and an appropriate receptacle. And pour in as much of the liquid as you can. At this point in time, you still want to hang on to your herbs because we're going to need to do a second boil. Be careful to get as much of the liquid as you can out. And add these back in. Pieces. And again, cover these with water to the about ½ inch above the line. At this point, they're all soaked. They've all been cooked once. But the second boil is to get out some of the constituents that will not come out the first boil. Really get the most out of your herbs. So once again, we're going to set this on the stove top. Bring this up to a high boil. Let it boil at that rolling boil for about 5 minutes. and then bring it back down to a low boil for an additional 15 to 20. Okay, so we've now finished the second round of boiling over decoction, and we're ready to strain it in with the first. So the two different boils go together. Turn down the heat. Take this off the stove. Oh, there we go.
If you don't have a strainer, you can use a colander to do this, or a slotted spoon if you're really lacking for tools.
At this point, we are done with the herbs, you're done with the boil, and if you have any packets that say something like add contents to strained decoction, or powder to melted decoction, now is the time to do that, to add these to your food.
And usually you'll want to stir that in a little bit.
So now at this point we have taken the total amount of our decoction and put it in our 2 glass containers and divided it more or less evenly 50-50. So we ended up cooking 1 bag. 1 bag will last you for 2 days. So if this is day 1, half of this would be consumed in the morning and half in the evening.
You can eyeball to see about what is half.
And these can be stored in the refrigerator, so you don't have to worry about them going bad or spoiling. But as these can come out kind of cool, you either want to let them sit and come to room temperature, or you can heat them up on the stovetop. It's pretty good. So that's how you cook your Chinese herbs. If you have any further questions, you should definitely contact either your Chinese herbal dispensary or the providers who saw you. And unless you are taking your herbs specifically for a cold and flu, if you happen to catch a cold and flu during the course of taking them, I would suggest stop taking them at that point and contact your Chinese herbalist or dispensary.
Great.
Thanks for watching.
Enjoy.